Alexandra Marshall is one of our sharpest commentators, and she joins us now live from Alberta, as we must learn to call it, under its new leader. Okay, Alexandra, what happened in your great nation over the weekend?
Well, I thought I'd be coming to you from a southern province of China, but perhaps we're actually a state of the World Economic Forum. It's difficult to tell these days. But basically what happened was the Labour Party, who have formed government, who are quite socialist, have got the lowest primary vote of any Labour government since 1910. Both parties, Liberal and Labour, which is our Conservative Party and our Labour Party, have the lowest primary vote we've ever seen. And that is because they have led voters to both the freedom parties, who are all against this totalitarian regime we've seen, and on the other side, they've lost them to the eco-fascists in the Green movement. And this was an election win for the Green movement. Both the Greens and the Teals I warned you about last week, they are the big winners. We've seen the rich and wealthy and affluent areas of Sydney and Melbourne go over and vote to save the climate by putting in these high taxing socialist renewables barons. And that's what's happened. All these years of indoctrination in the school system has given us a generation of hard left Greens who have no idea what they voted for, but they've gone and done it all the same. So if there's a lesson to be had out of here for Britain.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Alexandra.
I was going to say, if there's a lesson here for Britain, it's that don't let the Conservatives take the wrong line on climate change. Go ahead with environmentalism, but don't run this eco-fascist line. It will not work for you. You will lose out to the Greens eventually.
The joke about this, I was astonished because this was a name I hadn't actually heard in years, but he's the son of Australia's first billionaire, this young Holmes a Court chap. And for British people, if you went to the West End Theatre in London during the 80s and 90s, his mum and dad basically owned all the theatres in those days. So his dad and his mum were very successful, but the kid is one of these. He's like the ultimate trusty fundy kid. He put up a lot of sort of wealthy green ladies to take out selected people in inner city, basically in metropolitan constituencies. And it's just incredible, actually, the way the voice of the people now is the pampered son of Australia's first billionaire. I mean, how do they get away with this stuff?
Well, basically, they've made all the public, particularly the wealthy, feel guilty. It's a cult. It's basically a climate cult. So they feel so guilty about their wealth that their answer is to use the voting booth to save the planet, and therefore they can keep all their vehicles and their mansions and their private schools, and that's fine as long as they vote for repeal. They've done the right thing. They're a good person. And that's what this election was about. It was virtue signaling as being a good person. And in doing so, they've elected basically these, it's not even a real party. They've all got the same messaging, the same colour, the same financial backer, which, as you said, is Simon Holmes at Court. But they never declared themselves as a party. So now we've got all these Teals, these wealthy, privileged, far-left Greens in our government, and they're going to be a nightmare.
We've just been looking at footage of your new Prime Minister taking the oath of office in front of the Governor-General, and you have this kind of wacky thing in Australia that we don't really have in Canada or many other parts of the Commonwealth, where basically the incoming Prime Minister can rewrite the oath to his heart's content. So the last chap took the conventional oath of allegiance to Her Majesty the Queen and her lawful heirs of successors. And this guy, Albo, just made it up as he went along and did some affirmation, pledging himself to whatever it was he was pledging himself to. I take it that's a bit of showboating, that he actually understands he hasn't got any real mandate here. Or do you think he's going to make, as the left-wing parties usually do, he's going to make the most of his time in power and get on with radical transformation?
One of the old Labor commentators slipped up on TV during election night. He said that Labor would have the ability to rule instead of govern, of course, which is the word we prefer to use. They see this as the opportunity to rule over us. And Albanese, we've only had about 40% counted when he was sworn in. And he's already on a plane off to Japan. So our wonderful climate god who's telling us we can't have cars, his first act as Prime Minister was to hop on a jet. So, you know, it's do as I say, not as I do. And that's going to be the entire theme of this new government.
The supposed successor to Scott Morrison actually lost his seat. So the question, as always, after a rout like this is, does the party reconnect with its supposed right-wing roots, or does it try appeasing the left even further? Because the appeasement never... You can sign on to net zero, but everybody knows that if you're hot for net zero, the Greens or the lefties or whoever are the party to vote for, and not a so-called Conservative Party pretending to be green.
Well, the heir apparent, as you mentioned, Josh Frydenberg, he was actually one of the heads of the left-wing faction, the so-called moderates in the party, who got wiped out completely in this election. So it's actually really great that he's gone, because Peter Dutton was meant to be the Prime Minister instead of Scott Morrison. But Scott Morrison got put into power and he was absolutely useless. So what you're seeing now is Australia having a leader of the opposition who was meant to be the last Prime Minister. So he's one to watch. He's an extremely experienced man. He was Minister of Defence. He is the one who should have been leading the Conservatives in the first place. So he's not just being pushed in there, he is the real leader. And there is some hope for Conservatives that with him in charge, we will have a Conservative government again after this 3 years of absolute hell is finished.
Yeah, but the next 3 years, wait till the monkeypox mutates with the Omicron. There won't even be an Australia in 3 years' time, Alexandra. That's the world we're living in. But in the meantime...
For some reason, we're not taking it seriously. We just won't take monkeypox seriously. Australia's like, what do you want us to say? You know, we're just not going to do it.
No. Okay, wait till the dingo pox. That's the one that's going to do it for you. These are turbulent times, Alexandra. Thank you very much for joining us, as always. And let me know what you think. I think there are lessons for the present attenuated, largely worthless Tory party in this. GB Views at gbnews.uk. We'll get to your reaction next.